Hello. Okay, I know that a lot of people haven't gotten a chance to see the previous video, and I don't know that they are automatically, you need to see one after the other, like certain things. So if you're here, you're here, and you can check out that one first or not, I guess. But I stopped reading all the comments and kept a couple for the beginning of this one. And so just to restate kind of the premise, uh, was based on a reaction to another video talking more specifically about fast fashion. And then in the comments, someone had mentioned a concept or a principle that has been coming up a lot more recently, the cost per wear method, I guess, of building your wardrobe. And as I had said in the previous video, Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, says he doesn't buy crap because he does his homework. And, and so we're all kind of here doing the same thing, trying to do research on clothes, to find out what is worth the money, and what isn't, I guess, but the cost per wear, I don't want to go too much into this at first, but the cost per wear can't always be determined just by price alone. Durability and longevity are kind of relative, and I'll get maybe more into that in a minute. Like I said, I wanted to read this comment, a couple of them first. The one guy says, "This is such an interesting topic. As someone who just graduated from university, budget has always been the thing holding me back from getting the things I like," which was kind of the point of my previous video, where you might have to compromise and get things that aren't the quality you want, I compensate by focusing on my physique and looking for pieces that look the part and which complement my body but are reasonably priced, and making sure they all look like a cohesive fit. So he's trying for, an overall style, which is, the point. And then he asks, or requests, it might be interesting if you could cover the importance between the clothes itself and the person wearing it. Well, I don't know if the video person from that video replied, but my reply was that this will largely depend upon your first real job. You'll have to factor in the office or workplace culture with your budget and go from there. If nobody else wears suits, you might still wear sport jackets to look more the part, etc. And like I said, I'm going to come back to that about, the difference between kind of office culture versus labor. If you have a dress shirt versus a work shirt, and jeans versus suits, the jeans might last longer than the suit or vice versa. But if you don't, have a job where you wear suits, then your cost per wear on a suit goes down and your cost per wear on a jean goes up, and vice versa also. So it kind of gets into a gray area there. Like Kevin O'Leary, I don't know if he owns jeans and wears jeans very often, because we mostly see him in a suit. But he can afford a really expensive suit, and he can afford to throw away jeans every other day if he wants to. So but before we get into that, then somebody else had come in and this is a first world problem. I typically like your content, blah blah, but time for me to go. Always these dramatic exits, as if anybody's going to notice. I wish you well and hope you get more subs. Sustainable is the only way to shop. I didn't read the whole thing word for word, but then some other guy came in and said, "Oh no, we failed to please the random internet man. Surely we must grovel and ensure their irreplaceable presence." To which, I had to add my own 2 cents. No, he's saving the third world one pair of jeans at a time, all single-handed like. The sustainable thing. There's an argument to be made there too. Again, some fabrics are natural fabrics and they break down easier and blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah blah. Nobody's arguing against that, and nobody's saying that certain garments don't last necessarily longer than like polyester ones or whatever in terms of value and whatnot. But again, not trying to go too much into the fast fashion thing. Like I said in the previous video, though, in fast fashion, some people are the influencers and they want new outfits every couple weeks, but some people want the fast fashion stuff because it's what they can afford and it will last as long as they kind of need it to. And I think a lot of the fast fashion is more aimed at women and women's clothes. I was going to touch on this more in a minute too. Tend to be manufactured even before fast fashion to not last as long as men's clothes. Anyway, they were meant to be more seasonal and turned over more regularly. And I think either as Gentleman's Gazette or Carolina Zabrowska already talked about that. So I'm not really going to focus on women's clothes because I don't wear women's clothes. But again, the capsule wardrobe, for partly also that reason, works better with women's clothes than with men's clothes. This is something I keep arguing and everybody keeps ignoring me. But if you're using the term capsule wardrobe, like maybe even this guy would have a minute ago, it doesn't work exactly the same with menswear. And I've already done like 3 videos about that. But anyway, so then this person, and I don't know if this was a female, that's part of the reason why I brought that up. Because it wasn't just a men's channel. But they said, at this point, I've switched from thinking about the upfront cost to thinking of cost per wear. It's nice to get a $15 pair of pants, but if you only wear them 5 times before they wear out or you get bored, then you actually spent more per wear than if you'd worn a $150 pair every week for a year. Well, yeah, exactly. That's the age-old argument, right? But who wears the same pair of... Wouldn't you get bored faster if you only have the one pair of pants? I would think so, even if they're really well made. And again, seasonality. Or if you outgrow the $150 pair, it costs way more to replace them all every few months or every couple of years or whatever. So this principle works better, if you can see in the future and, know what job you will have or, what fluctuations you may encounter. But so I had put that, and somebody came in and put outgrow. If you are spending your own money on clothes, one would assume you've stopped growing. If you meant outgrowing stylistically every couple months, you don't have a style to worry about. Like always the snarky kind of thing. But I replied honestly, no, I meant gaining weight primarily, like happens to most college sophomores, and then again every 2 to 3 years for most adults. Sorry, but most of your clothes won't still fit you after 5 or 7 years, And I think you can't just buy everything by equation. I like to buy quality clothes, but this equation method, as much as I agree with it in principle, for starters, it eliminates some of the fun of curation. I have a bunch of stuff that's meant to be long-lasting quality, but I live in Southern California where much of it hangs in the closet unused most of the year. We had a long, hot summer, and I was mostly wearing the same, crap t-shirts or shorts over and over and laundering them pretty frequently, and they didn't actually fall apart. So I'll have most of them, to wear again for next year if they still fit. But there would have been no point in trying to wear heavy wool trousers to try and get my money's worth out of them, out of the purchase in, July. Like, no. Yeah, they might be the best pants I own, but I can't wear them for a year straight or whatever they said. And I don't consider them a waste of money either, even though I don't get to wear them as much as I'd like, because, they're still durable and all that. And when they do get worn, they'll still look good. And if a gal has a baby, she's not going to fit in her nice clothes anymore. So again, foresight, you bought all these nice outfits. Now you have to decide on whether to replenish your own wardrobe versus you have to get baby clothes and other stuff. Are you still going to be able to buy the same high quality clothes for yourself now? Unfortunately, probably not. You can't always, like I said, in a perfect world, you could buy things on this formula, but, like you buy a really nice white cashmere sweater, it gets stained. Oops. Whereas I can get 3 or 6 wool ones for the same, amount. And not just like, again, and not just talking about fast fashion, or I don't always find out if a thing is crap until after I've washed it. So you bought it and it seemed like a good price, and then it looks terrible, and it wasn't necessarily because you bought it knowing it would be that condition, that quality, low quality and poor looking condition so quickly. I think that's where you buy it once and then you go, okay, never again. You cross that brand off your list, and it's a little more trial and error because, well, one, most people don't just wake up fat all of a sudden one day, but maybe if you have a great metabolism and you won't have to worry about it. But the law of averages indicates that you can buy a garment to last for 10 or 20 years, but you'll be lucky if it still fits. Again, like I said, I used to be the skinniest guy around, so if I could still fit into the clothes I had in college, I may not have had to buy much clothes ever again since then. I have plenty of quality items that I will likely never wear again, but with some fluctuations over time, I keep some of them around to, oh, I can wear this for a while, okay, and then I kind of outgrow it again and have to, switch it out. And on, I'll come back to that. I know I was kind of starting a sweater and some other kind of topic. Don't worry, I'll come back. Sven Raphael from Gentleman's Gazette. Now he talks about this principle, so that's, I think, where a lot of people got the idea, or someone like him. He may have some clothes that he perceives are more durable than others because they are better fabric, but he also has plenty of extra garments. So he's not just trying to work with this capsule wardrobe. He can rotate them and make, even the less durable ones last longer. And he's not doing anything too strenuous, same as Kevin, O'Leary. He's not wearing his sport jackets and seersucker trousers to go work on a construction site. They're not going to get the same kind of abuse as workwear. And the workwear guy doesn't even own a sport jacket to wear on the weekends, much less to attempt to wear one out, in terms of condition. So you have to be careful that you're not being smug or even borderline, sanctimonious. That you're directing this concept at the less mathematical shoppers who just kind of blunder away. And like I said, they didn't factor in the X factor, like the stain on the sweater, which or some other thing that still leads to failure or disappointment or unexpected costs after you thought you bought your perfect outfit, and then you find out, oh, you still got to buy this and this. Baby puke, the dog chewed your trousers, or even your favorite bespoke shoes. Like I said, the odds of buying a great set of clothes at 23 and still wearing them at 40 or even 30, reality check for the realist. Hit the gym and hope for the best. Eat healthy. Like I said in the other video, if you're wealthy, you can buy whatever luxury items you want and not worry about it. But I don't care how soft they are. I will never own a cashmere sweater for $800 when I can get a wool one for $100. I'll never own a $1,200 leather jacket when I can get a decent one for $400. And that's not just because I'm cheap. I mean, it's because I know $400 leather is decent leather for what I need. And again, that takes research too, because I have bought $100 leather jackets and I know why they're bad. But I also can still wear them in a pinch. Again, if I'm doing something where I really don't want to have to worry about my leather jacket getting ruined, So where were we? It would make the slide rule kind of calculator equation easier if you knew, whether or not the cashmere sweater would last as long as the wool one. I assume wool is more durable than cashmere. I don't really know. Again, I don't wear sweaters all year round, so I haven't had a chance to really deplete any sweaters that weren't more acrylic kind of things. And most of the acrylic ones that I had, I outgrew, not wore out. So, and the one wool sweater that I did have that I found at a thrift store that I loved, that I wore all the time, was like my Ethan Hawke Reality Bites looking sweater. That got thrown in the dryer and shrank to toddler size. And I guess Gentleman's Gazette suggests a method where you can re-stretch them, but that was well before the internet, so I just, did not keep it to do that. Let's see. Jeans may last longer than dress pants, but they will never look as good for given situations either. It's not always just a dollar equation. Like I said, uh, I showed a graph in the previous thing, and for the most part, his graph area kind of coincided with mine, but mine was more. I was willing to go down into clothing that was affordable rather than, yay, I love this, because that's reality. And the stuff that's way more expensive over here on the other side of the graph might always be just enough out of reach for one reason. And his graph, I think, was a little flawed in some of the plotting anyway, because it didn't go in, again, it didn't go into these kind of specifics about what kind of job do you have, what kind of clothes are you buying different clothes for different occasions, that kind of thing. So yeah, because is there a premium jean out there for $250? Yes. Will I ever buy that either? No, because the guys who wear premium jeans, again, aren't the guys who work on construction sites. The guys who work on construction sites know their jeans are going to get destroyed, and they won't spend more than $40 on a pair of jeans most of the time. Um, so yeah, if that was the case, there'd be no sense in ever buying anything that wasn't, just basic labor clothing. So if we all just wore jeans and nobody wore suits or whatever, uh, until what, the 1960s or whatever, jeans weren't considered stylish at all. And then all these current trends started coming in, and they could all evaporate quickly enough for a number of factors, like I said in the last video. And I would argue that this person who only buys their clothes by a scientific method, you haven't done any exhaustive clothing durability experiments in your laboratory. You're probably like half my age at the most, and you don't even have as much experience wearing clothes over, many years or decades. You have, you have the internet now, but again, you have the same anecdotal evidence of as everyone else, which brands seem to last longer and stay more comfortable or look more presentable than, others over a period of time. That's what you have to work with. Like I said, I'm going to try and do a head-to-head jeans video and a head-to-head boots video, but they won't be completely scientific because it's just not realistic. And who decides when a garment is worn out? Now, this is what I was alluding to at the very beginning of the video. So hopefully you stayed around this long, and this is already longer than I thought. I thought this would be a shorter video than the last one, but here we are. Who decides when a garment is worn out versus ratty looking enough for replacement will depend upon their occupation. At best, like if you wear suits every single day, you probably need new shirts more often, even though a shirt, from a couple months ago doesn't have any holes in it or anything. It's not going to be the same thing as a guy who works, in a warehouse or construction, and he wears durable denim or canvas or flannel, but he can let his clothes go longer without replacement because it doesn't matter if they have some stains or small holes. Whereas if you work in a professional setting, you need to replace your shirt as soon as it starts to get ring around the collar, even though it's not really worn out at all. Kevin O'Leary won't be caught dead in a dirty shirt. And those fabrics, like I said, those other fabrics may or may not be more durable than Oxford cloth. Oxford cloth's pretty good, chambray, middle of the road, which is even more casual than a true dress shirt or a silk shirt. So an Oxford cloth shirt, if you can get away with that in like an office casual setting, that'll last you quite a while, and it'll still look presentable, but it's not a going to court traditionally shirt, and if you work in an office, you aren't wearing flannel or denim or canvas shirts regularly, unless on the weekends. So you don't already know how long the garment will last for the first variable of your equation, unless you've already owned multiple brands and done a complete day-by-day analysis of which item got worn and washed how many times compared to the other ones. Then you could surmise which one was likely to last the longest, and buy only that brand in the future, provided that that brand continues to make that model in perpetuity, which I kind of said in the last video. Nobody has really done that. Again, like I said, other YouTube channels have started these kind of experiments, very recently to provide some of that information, but even they are partly inconclusive because each wearer can be functioning under slightly different conditions: occupation, local weather, dry cleaning versus machine wash, daily habits, etc. And like I said, until you've bought it and washed it and found out you already wasted that money before you can buy the other one that's better. I have a whole chunk about shoes here that I will save because I think this is long enough. But yeah, LL Bean and Levi's and other brands, they've survived since the 1800s and 1900s, but some of them still offer some of the same products as they used to. But again, these are not necessarily considered fashion brands either anymore, because the fashion brands all cost more, even though they offer similar products or lower quality products in many cases. So like I said, yeah, I'll probably talk about the shoes in another anecdote sometime, and leave this off here. So questions, comments. Whoo, you made it all the way through. Congratulations.